Is he up here? I can't. I'm losing you guys. I'm up in the mountains now.
Yes, Noah is on the stage. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
PRD.
actually I'm driving across the country, but I only tuned in about 15 minutes ago, so I'm getting caught up to speed. But where I popped in was where somebody said he wasn't really bleeding normally. So I'm a 20-year board certified ER doc. Uh, the whole thing is crazy, and while I do think that there's some fishy business for sure. It's really, really hard to tell with bullets, guys. I've seen people shot actually in the neck quite a bit in the emergency department, and it's crazy. What we normally don't see is obviously someone shot immediately, but what you have to understand is when people are shot, especially ostensibly with a high caliber bullet. Now I know some people are talking about his lapel mic blew up or something else, exploding vest. I heard, but for all intents and purposes, we have to assume that he was struck by a really high caliber, powerful bullet, and that causes immense energy transfer and what we call cavitation. And cavitation like that in the neck, which is a pretty small thing, can expand the neck like instantly in a microsecond, and it can cause just incredible shear forces and damage, even without the bullet. It's like an explosion of air and forces, and so it's really kind of incredible. So the neurovascular bundle, which is the carotid artery, and then of course the jugular and the vagus nerve, those are like shattered, ripped, torn, and it's not like a typical stab or slice where you'd see a pumping or a splurting. And I'm sorry for being graphic, but those things, when they're ruptured like that, they retract instantly because they're under tension. So it's like in the movies where you can't get to the blood vessel to clamp it because it gets sucked up, north and south, and so that's why those injuries are so difficult to deal with. But that will cause enough what we call tamponade or pressure on the wound that you don't have that pumping, splurting, and instead it's just this kind of like gushing because it all kind of pools on the inside and then is forcefully expelled. So sorry for anybody who's squeamish, but
No,
so
that's perfect.
when I saw his injury, I knew immediately it wasn't compatible with life. So it doesn't really matter the care he got. Even if I was on the scene with a trauma surgeon and that happened like in our ER, his chance of survival is zero. His heart is going to keep, still be beating. It's just like literally zero, guys. That's like a battlefield injury where it doesn't even matter what you do, like perfect world. If it were a stab wound right to his carotid artery, yeah, then we can talk about numbers that you would save. But for him to live through something like this, it wouldn't even be like if you had any kind of injury like this that caused that kind of bleeding, and if it was a high caliber bullet, if you took 1,000,000 people, 1,000,000 people would die.
So
Beat for an hour.
where that was
Yeah,
located and giving the rupture that you described, is it
yeah.
possible that the blood would pump down into his esophagus and his airways and his stomach as opposed to out where it's all ruptured, like right where you were describing?
Well, no, it's always path of least resistance, and the lowest pressure is like the outside air. Inside is all meat and space. So no, the is out for blood like
So,
that.
well, because people are like all, the people are up in arms about not seeing a bigger blood trail as he's being dragged out to the car. Like, do you have any comment on that?
Well, I don't know if they were applying pressure, but I would have to think that anybody in their right mind would be putting like full force pressure on that side of his neck, and there would be no bleeding. You know, um, it's then the blood would have to find somewhere to go, and it would cause hematoma and maybe expansion. And it depends, you know, you lose a lot of blood pressure real quick once you lose a liter of blood. So all of a sudden, you're not pumping with as much force.
Hey, Dr. Kaufman, if I may just ask a question here, and look, I'm going to be honest. I'm one of the leading people that thinks that something exploded underneath his shirt. Okay, sir.
Yeah,
So this is the one thing that I cannot get over. And I
yeah,
understand this is going to be more of a rhetorical thing that I say. And it's because you've been in the operating room or the hospital ER and you've not been out on the streets to see someone actually be shot. But it's 3 frames where the t-shirt is moving without
yeah.
any
I saw it.
visible wound, man. That's what if that can be explained in some crazy, like, that's what we can't get over, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, I can help provide a counter explanation for that. It doesn't mean that that's not still a possibility. And look, I'm open to that. There are some physics problems with that. Like when you hold a gun and you shoot it, you're providing like a counter force so that the bullet can be propelled forward, and then you have like a kickback. Like if you have like a lapel explosion, it's almost impossible to control the angle of those forces. So normally there are explosions where they explode in all kinds of directions and cause massive burning, and there's shrapnel. So you think of a grenade or any sort of other incendiary device. But if you have like a little like 1 centimeter lapel thing, or 1 inch or whatever it was, 2.5 centimeters, where do you get a barrel? How are you sure that it doesn't miss his neck, you know, to a different side, or like
Or rip a
it's
hole through
very,
the
very
shirts,
hard from a
or
physics.
burn the shirts.
What?
But
Well,
but
okay, no,
also,
no,
Diligent, you're applying thought that you're applying experience of thought, and this could be something that we don't necessarily know of. I mean, that's also the possibility. Like, we're sitting here applying real world things that we know of, like,
Well, I
oh,
mean,
we've
just
seen a
physics. The energy and gas has to go somewhere, right?
well.
This is how a gun also
I,
works.
I I
That's why they
agree.
put suppressors on the end of a barrel of a gun, is to capture the gas that's expelled to silence it. And it also propels the bullet with more accuracy in feet per second, because the energy is not expelled in gas out through the end of the barrel, but propels actually moves with the bullet, right? So
right?
the same concept applies here. If it was a lavalier mic explosion, right? Again, Noah, if you watch the pagers explode, for example, right? Do they explode inward, or do they explode outward and everywhere? They explode in a 360-degree direction. That's how they explode. They
What
char the
Right.
about
sides
what
of the
what about
bodies.
Shinzo
They
Abe?
blow up they char. Hold on. They. I haven't watched that video in great depth or detail,
You should. You
right?
need to.
But
Doctor, you too.
I mean, does it not blow up as close?
Identical.
Tell us why.
I'll post it. Look, the shot,
I'm
the
driving. I'm
homemade gun.
on the highway. I can't watch any
Okay, I
videos.
got you. It'll be in the chat, or I'll get it to you. But quite frankly, the shot of the homemade gun that is more like a cannon going off in the background, and it's just because like this was the most sloppy assassination. That lapel that Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan, it does the same thing we saw with Charlie. I mean,
So this isn't
there's
a
no.
confirmed. It's just a
I'm sorry,
similar visible. It's not a
bro.
confirmed case.
Uh, no, I
Right?
mean, because then we would be talking about the biggest, like, inside assassination job of all time if it were that.
I
I mean,
mean,
who
wouldn't
knows?
there be sound, guys? Wasn't there sound, or wouldn't there be like an instant sound
Yeah.
from the lapel mic that would have been recorded in at the same time that the injury occurred? Versus, like, haven't they done? They've done. I mean, this
Yeah.
forensics isn't that hard. I
No,
think
it's
this
not.
is
And
like,
you should see the video of this guy that there's 2 events that are being recorded on the audio. There's 2 events and it's unexplainable. I'm talking about the Charlie Kirk audio. I'll post it later. Like,
Noah,
it's
could
bizarre.
cavitation explain the expansion of the shirt that he's describing?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, there's so many forces. I mean, certainly it could, but the rib cage and the bony structures would probably prevent that. I do agree that the shirt looked really weird, but I don't think that necessarily means something, which is the problem. And the three frame thing with the blood and the time it took for the blood to start coming out that's a nothing burger because it once you have that cavitation, it pushes the blood way up and way down that blood vessel because it's so much pressure and it's like an explosion inside. And so it would take, a couple milliseconds for the blood to come back out, even with pressure. It's not like instant.
And what about the miracle bullet? I gotta get your opinion on Andrew Colbett's explanation of why there wasn't an exit wound with a 30-06 bullet at 150 yards.
Yeah, that's a weird one. So the only way that I could explain that, if that's true, I did hear somebody say they found the bullet right next to the skin. I forgot who said
So
that.
they're kind of like it was him. Okay, according to Andrew Colbett, who talked to his surgeon. So that's
yeah. So look, I've seen a million really weird things happen with bullets, like things you could not explain. Like a bullet wind up in the spinal cord with like 0 fractures. Like how the hell did it get in there? Like a bullet from the leg wind up in a heart ventricle. I've seen it all. And what I will tell you is the moment a bullet goes in, or any projectile, it like there's a lot of tumble and yaw, and the bullets immediately change direction and go in other directions. And when they do that, they can glance off other structures. The skin, believe it or not, is like incredibly stretchy and resilient, and a bullet can literally bounce around if it's especially if it's sideways on the inside of the skin.
To Martin Luther King Jr., who was shot with a 30-06, but the bullet bounced around, left his neck, re-entered his neck, and then decimated his jaw before it stopped.
It's exactly like a bullet is like the moment it goes in, it literally could have gone up through his foramen magnum into his skull, bounced around in his brain, gone down to his pelvis, bounced around, destroyed his bladder, and then come back up and rest in his neck. I mean, it's that weird, and that's why it's so hard treating people in the ER and in the surgery bay.
Happen with a neck wound with a high-powered rifle? Well, first of all, have you ever seen a neck wound with a high-powered rifle?
No, not a neck wound, but I've seen arms and legs and thorax with high-powered rifle, and the closest would be the abdomen.
But the softest, like, isn't the neck like some of the softest tissue on the body, other than the spinal column, because we can rotate our neck 100. We can we move our neck 180 degrees left to right, and it has to be flexible and soft for that to occur.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously muscle and connective tissue, but you're absolutely right, except for the spinal column. A 30-06. I mean, I would again, a bullet can do anything that it wants to do, and physics is like it's so crazy, but a 30-06 is so powerful that it wouldn't even notice the neck. And this is where I have some problems with the whole thing. Like, I do think that there's some problems. A 30-06, but maybe it was a very low powder, but then the bullet would have fallen short.
Not to have any evidence of further tissue damage than what we saw. Like, man.
It's a really good question. Yeah, 30-06 would have gone through him like a hot knife through butter. I mean, there should be no way that it bounced around or did anything else.
A 30-06 also would have blown a hole the size of a watermelon out of his neck, man.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
definitely. I've shot deer with them before. It blows a large hole out the exit wound.
Yeah, I've shot a 30-06 through a pumpkin, and it was totally. It barely knows it's there, but it causes an incredible amount of damage and force. So yeah, I think that's really weird. And the moment I heard that they somehow found the bullet like right underneath the skin, I mean, that's a little weird, and I'm not very conspiratorial. I mean, I was here for Epstein, and I said, it was a great conversation then, and I mean, I don't know what happened. I hope. I feel like this is like everything else, and we're never going to know for sure. And it's like keep the plebs in the dark, and it's. I hope we do find out, but for some reason, I feel like this is way above our pay grade.
Well, I think that it's
Well,
going to be the most that we can really do is disprove the narrative, the official narrative as it keeps coming out,
100%.
you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of being able to actually prove what happened is going to be difficult. Yeah. So. But
Yeah, the narrative certainly doesn't make sense.
But doctor, do I at least have a little bit of a point?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's within the realm of possibilities. Again, it's hard to shape a force, like a charge to go in a certain direction. So if these people are like total pros, it could be kind of crazy stuff we don't know about, or obviously look at what we can do these days. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that we don't know about. So yeah, it's possible. It's just not.
I sent you, yeah, I
It's
sent you the
unlikely.
Shinzo Abe. If you'll just watch it, and I would love to know your thoughts, like tomorrow or the next day, just whenever, just of that assassination 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
I'll watch that one. Yeah.
I bought the UV Beast 3. I spent a dime on it, and well, I'm going to take that to the Charlie Kirk site looking for evidence of blood. You can't. It's very hard to find blood. Well, you can find it way later after the fact, by the way. Especially in concrete, which is porous, absorbs hemoglobin and plasma quite easily. But it doesn't have a natural, very strong natural bioluminescence. It can give off a faint iridescence, like a little bit of a light blue, and then mostly shows up dark, especially if it's fresh, compared to the surrounding surface. I am going to take the beast down there and blast it. And then I was looking at ways that you can color filter on on a recording device side to make it pop a little bit more. But I think we did spot some. But people the whole thing with, and the reason why I asked you, doctor, is because people are, they don't think he's dead. And I'm like, dude, I've seen enough
Yeah.
people die. Yeah, he's dead. Like, that dude's dead. I
Yeah.
wish
Yeah.
people would drop that one, because it kind of like you lose an audience when you go extreme. And I'm not trying to disparage our conspiracy theory friends, Maze,
I mean,
some
they're
of our
all
other people,
coming
but
true. You can't deny the fact that I've been a
I love y'all. I love y'all. I love
6 months
y'all.
to a year. But go
I
ahead.
The
love y'all.
fact that you even use that word diligent is a little concerning, considering we all know where it came from and why it was developed and where it came
I didn't
from.
invent the
Conspiracy
word. I
theory.
just applied
But you
it.
use it
I
regularly.
know, but he was just picking on me. But go ahead. Go ahead, Dilly.
I was just joking with Maze, anyways.
I know. Can
Look,
I ask Doctor a question? Doctor, is that hole in the neck
I don't think he
the
was
the,
done
the
with his. Was
official?
he
Can
done?
I ask a question,
But
please, real quick?
Dan,
Can I
yes,
just?
I think. Let me just
Yeah.
make
Thank
sure.
you.
Hold on. God damn it. See, this it's a little bit annoying. I haven't brought you up. There's been people that's been up here for a long time with their hand up, and I'm gonna let you ask. I just want to make sure that Diligent was done with his question because he was mid question when you chimed in. Then I'll come to you, Daniel, for your question if you don't mind.
I just want. Well, I'm trying to get people's minds at ease about the blood not being visible, and maybe it's no. I'm gonna have another space either tomorrow or this weekend. Maybe I'll shoot you a DM and have you come talk about it more, if you because you haven't seen a video. Like you said, you haven't watched him being carried out. So maybe I'll let you watch the videos of him being carried out. I'll send you one later, and then we can discuss it later. So go ahead and
And
call in whoever, Maze.
I
Thank you.
put Blake's post in the nest and I DM'd it to you, Dilly. So check those out. And go ahead, Daniel, and then we'll go to Colonel.
The official narrative is that the hole that we see in his neck is an entry wound, correct?
I mean,
That's
I
the
believe
official
so.
narrative. Yes.
Doctor, in your experience, is a high velocity rifle entry wound where that artery is? Does it look like that?
So I've seen 45s to the neck. I've seen 22s. I've seen some 9 millimeters. And so the neck is made up of three different areas, basically zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. He suffered a zone 2, which is one of the most dangerous zones, the injury. And from the injuries that I've seen in zone 2, believe it or not, because the neck is so soft, it doesn't have unless you're like straight in line with the spine or something to absorb it, the forces, it doesn't have like the tensile strength to resist tearing because it is so soft. So yeah, I mean that's compatible. It does look. I mean, if I had to guess, I would guess that it is an entrance wound, especially because if it was an exit wound, when you saw it happen, there would be an instant massive spray of a cloud of blood and dust coming out, and material coming out. But instead, it's he makes the face. I agree. He had a brainstem injury. He's got kind of a cloud. He was gone instantly. And then, a couple of moments later, you see this kind of blood pouring, high pressure pouring out of his neck. So, I mean, I do think that it's consistent with an entrance wound. Honestly, that would be my best guess. I would say 90% chance it's entrance wound, 10% chance it's exit wound.
So then the second question I have, and then I'm done, is especially with a 30-06, which I think we can all agree it wasn't, but even if it was like a 5.56 round or some other high velocity round, wouldn't, even with the limited camera angles we have, wouldn't we have at least seen some evidence of what you're describing if it was an exit wound there, splurting out, flesh coming out? We would have seen something like that coming out the opposite end, wherever. Even if it was the back of his neck, there would have been some evidence available of the exit.
Yeah,
Like, I know what exit wounds do,
right. And again, the bullets have a mind of their own, and it's not like, yes, 9 times out of 10, a bullet with that much force won't even see a human body. It'll just be like going through the air, and then it goes through something else that's a little wet, and then it's going through air again. It doesn't even notice. But that 1 time out of 10, or you'd have to shoot a million deer, and we'd have to do I don't really know, but I've seen bullets do such crazy things. Bullets with high force, bullets with 30-06, not go through a person and somehow not shatter a bone. It's just crazy, the forces that are involved in the different kinds of tissues, and the way that certain tissues are elastic. Bullets like a spider web, and they slow the bullet down immensely, and that force is spread out through the tissue because all these different tissues are lined up. So you got blood vessel, you've got fascia, you've got muscular layers, and then you've got the bone and connective tissue in there. They all absorb and transmit forces differently, and they act they can act like a catch, especially if the bullet turns sideways. If the bullet is straight on, sure, but it's kind of like if you're falling straight down with your feet first, your terminal velocity is 170, 180 miles an hour or something like that. But if you're spread out prone like a skydiver, your terminal velocity is 120 miles an hour or something. So if the bullet went in and then immediately took a 90-degree turn, but the force kept going forward, but it's then it's a whole different ball game, and the bullet can go anywhere. So yeah, it's tough to say. I would have expected it to go through with that sort of explosive characteristic out the opposite side, but I've seen bullets do such crazy things that it's not shocking that it didn't. It's just awfully convenient that it wound up right by the skin. I'll say that. There's definitely some very low chance probabilities that happened. If
Yeah, because the obstructions in that area are so small, even the vertebrae is the softest it is in that area, correct?
vertebrae and bone are very
There
strong,
is
but
no bone there, though, is there?
oh
Like,
yeah, your
it's
vertebrae,
just,
you've got C1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and T1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, you've got bone. You've got the bony column of the neck. Your whole spine, the whole way down, is bone, disc, so on and so forth.
up there it is? Okay, okay.
Yeah, everywhere. I mean, yeah,
Right up
yeah,
to the
just
base of the skull, bro.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I just heard I heard it was softer up there. That's all. That's why I'm asking. I believe you, though. Yeah.
Well, most of the neck tissue is softer. So if you take it like in total, like a cross section of the neck is softer than a cross section of your thigh. So I mean, it just depends on what you heard from where and who.
Thank you,
I have
doctor, for your
a
answer.
I have a subscriber asking me to ask you a question. I'm probably going to butcher this word. Okay, ask Noah if you can exhibit decorticate de,
Decorticate, yeah,
decorticate
yeah.
posturing without hitting brainstem, but instead severing spinal cord.
Um, so what he's talking about is there's decerebate and decorticate posturing. So when people are dying for various reasons, and I have to explain this to, give you a high level overview of what happens in order to answer this question. So, if basically if you get shot, or if you've ever seen horrible videos of people shot and they kind of flex their fists towards themselves and almost like they look like they're bodybuilding, that's decorticate posturing, like he did. His kind of arms came up, he kind of flexed, and normally that's brainstem. And when we're talking brainstem, we're talking like below cerebellum, like right at the bottom of the skull, where the spinal cord goes into the brain and connects to the brain. And if you transect the spinal cord, you wouldn't normally expect to see the same thing as a decorticate injury, because you would just be paralyzed, and you would just have like a loss of function, of motor function, wherever the bullet went across. So the question is now, if there was enough force or injury, and like let's say you're talking a 30-06 and it hit the spinal column so hard that it like dislocated or subluxed one of the vertebrae and kind of pulled really hard on the spinal cord and basically pithed, pithed his brain. So like you basically like pulled his. I mean, this is like really kind of hardcore to be talking about. So sorry for anybody.
If you're squeamish, stop listening. But these people are these are the chosen,
Yeah.
man. These
So
people they're here to hear this shit. They want to know.
Yes, keep
well,
going.
yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, so the bottom line is no. If you transected the spinal cord, you wouldn't expect to see that kind of posturing. People just generally go limp, and would just like collapse. Like if you've ever seen those, a horrible like the Faces of Death videos where people are shot in the head, they don't posture or anything. They just go down like a pile of like a bag of potatoes or whatever, a sack of potatoes. So it's I wouldn't expect that if he transected his spinal cord that he would start decorticate posturing. But the other thing I wouldn't expect is like instantaneous decorticate posturing. Normally there's a little, it takes a little bit of time to do that from everybody I've seen die in that sort of way, or and you don't always die if you're posturing like that, but in the ER. So it's very unusual though, but I wouldn't expect a spinal cord transection there. It could be though that like the bullet took a 90-degree turn, and we don't have the benefit of CT scans of his neck. I mean, I wish I could see. I've thought about calling up the ER doc and saying, "Hey, talk to me. what did you see on the CT scan? Like
Do it.
I would love to see the medical records.
The FBI will knock on your door in like 30 minutes if you do that,
Don't
Doc.
do it.
Oh no, I would never do that. I wouldn't. And honestly, I'm not curious enough to put myself or my family in any sort of like. I'm just conjecturing here. This is all for education, but suffice it to say, from an academic standpoint, it is unusual with all the bullet stuff. But the narrative could actually be the real thing that happened, and so what would confirm that would be to see all the medical records, especially the imaging, and I think in this case you'd probably see shattered vertebral column, and that's probably where most of the force went, and then with that and bullet luck kept the bullet in the neck, but everything else visibly, and whoever said this is absolutely right. I don't see bullet, I don't see gunshot wounds like happen immediately. I see the aftermath, and I see what
Doc,
happens.
I've shot a deer where I broke the spine. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Just what you just described is true. The deer instantly falls to the ground. It doesn't posture up at all and then go down.
Right.
It
Right.
goes immediately down and is paralyzed down.
Exactly.
All right, I want to go to the Colonel in just a second. I will say that I've gotten DMs from some of the pro people that know guns very well. They even recommended books for you, but they're saying you might know surgery, but you don't know much about guns, and that they don't think that it was possible at all for this. But of course, there's a lot of those that we get. So with that being said, go ahead, Colonel, jump in, and then I'll do a. I think we have Fuzzy after that, and then Naga. Go ahead, hon.
Yep. No. So typical entrance wound. You've seen these. You've seen the gunshot wounds. What do you see? You see a bullet going in, and you see a small. Um, you see a small searing around that, right? Because it's hot and it's going through, and then whatever comes out of that comes out of that, but the bullet goes through. But there is no universe that exists where this guy was hit with a 30-06, because even if you put a half-inch steel plate right behind his spinal column, what would happen is it would either go through the spinal column or it would knock him a foot and a half off of that chair and he would have went backwards. And you have to know that. And that's just physics, because all the energy in the bullet has to be dissipated in the direction that the bullet came from. That's basic physics, which you also had, which is called F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration. That's basic Newtonian stuff. And we don't need to get into this matrix bullshit world that doesn't exist. Or maybe it does, because it's starting to feel like it, because there's no universe that exists where this guy was hit in the throat with a 30-06. That world doesn't exist. It's not a universe. And you're coming up here and you're saying that it's somewhat of a possibility. You know better than that. And if that was an entrance wound, and it could have been if it was some, bigger 45 caliber round that fucking was slowing down or something else. I don't know. I just know this. That motherfucker was not hit in the neck with a 30-06. That fucking universe does not exist. And for anyone to pretend that it does, you're destroying the credibility of the universe, frankly, because
Of the
it doesn't
universe?
exist. Yes,
Okay.
that universe does not exist.
I'd like to respond to that.
Sure,
First.
sure.
I actually agree with you. I like I said,
Hold on.
I said 9 times out of 10. I should have said 999 times out of 1,000. But I'm telling you, I've seen bullets do crazy, crazy things.
A
And
30-06? You've seen a 30-06 do crazy
He's trying
shit
to
with
explain it
6
to you.
inches?
Can you guys just allow him to speak? He's basically saying that because he's seen such crazy shit, it's like he doesn't want to, he's just saying that he agrees with you and he would have made the odds even slimmer.
yeah,
But anyway, go ahead.
I agree with you that the forces are like immense, and that the stopping power of a neck is like negligible compared to the forces, and you would expect to see the bullet go straight through and then straight through a steel plate behind. I understand all of that. What I'm telling you is that's true for like a lot of bullets, and we see, and sure, there's different bullets with different stopping power, and different bullets have different characteristics in the body. A 30
Stay
6,
on a 30-06. Stay on a high-powered 30-06 when you're talking.
yeah.
Tell
So
us about your last trip to Israel, Noah. Tell us about that trip.
Okay,
The
can
last
you
time
just
you
wait,
let him finish what he's saying first, Naga? And then when I come to you, you can
you
ask
said it
whatever
several
question.
times.
Whoa.
Jeez.
so
Go ahead.
You said it several
so
times already.
what I'm telling you is I have no idea. Okay, but what I'm telling you is 9 times out of 10, every high power caliber bullet that I've seen like that, yes, it goes right through. It leaves a huge exit wound. The the limb is half off. There's a huge hole. But it's not like a 50 caliber bullet. I mean, there is a possibility. It's probabilistic, and you can't say that 100% of these, there's of these sorts of injuries are going to react the exact same way. And what I'm saying is there's a non-zero probability, and I've said this from the beginning. It's fishy. There's a very low probability. But what I'm telling you is, yes, I've even seen large caliber bullets bounce around in ways that you would never expect and not leave the body and cause tons of damage.
How large, doctor?
Well, I mean, we've seen everything from shotgun slugs to, I mean, probably a 30-06 is about the
That's not
big.
30-06 though. That is a different weapon. It's a different slug. A 45 is a bigger caliber weapon. It's not the caliber. It is the round. That
He's
round,
just saying he's
it's a
not
beast.
speaking with certainty, bro. He's just leaving room for possibility. I don't know
About
why you're
fantasy.
attacking him because he's
Because there is
objective.
no
I'm attacking him
possibility,
because there's
Diligent.
no possibility. It doesn't exist, Diligent. The
It's
world, the
zero. It's
universe
zero.
does not exist.
It,
The probability is zero, and also
okay.
it's the most base point we have that Charlie Kirk was that they're lying with the narrative. And anyone who's coming up here to say that it was killed with a 30-06 and it could have bounced around, that is a absolute
That's not what
falsehood.
was said, though. You're misrepresenting his
He
words. That
did
is
say
not what he
that.
said.
Yes, he
He
did.
literally
He
said
did
He did
that.
actually
not
say it
Several
was
say
a
times.
he
non-zero
did not say
probability.
he was killed with a 30-06. He said that's what they're saying
He
he
said
was
that
killed
it
He
with.
was
said it's
He
bounced
said that
possible.
it's
around.
possible and it's not. It is not possible,
Exactly.
Diligent. That
Exactly.
world
Well,
doesn't exist,
you know
Diligent.
what? I don't know that it's not possible. Well, but
Because
it's
So,
you've
not.
You
never
haven't
shot a
been
Is
30
listening and you
the
06.
haven't been
is
paying
it is
Diligent,
it
attention.
come
All
is
right.
back
it
through Texas.
okay,
Diligent, drive
guys.
back through Texas on your way home,
Everybody,
dude, and I got you.
everybody relax. Jeez. Okay. I don't know what's so triggering about this 30
I don't know why.
6
Yeah,
thing.
I don't know why they're all
Oh,
dogpiling
Hold
him.
true
on.
gaslighting is pretty
Hold on.
triggering.
Hold on. So I don't know. I mean, he did. I don't. I think he said he's not an expert about all this, and he's trying to give the probabilities, and he's
He
agreeing
is an expert, but he's not. He
about
has never done.
guns.
He's never
About
dealt
guns.
with a 30-06 neck wound,
Right.
Then he's
which
not an
is
expert.
Well, so in other words,
that's
it's one of those things. But
So,
so 20 years of trauma, MD isn't expert, but you are. Fucking
guys,
retarded,
If
bro.
you haven't
uh,
killed anything with a 30-06, then it's irrelevant.
It
so
is a
guys,
very small wound going in and
okay,
here's
it's a
what I would
burn
say.
mark.
hold on a
How
second,
many animals
guys.
have you killed with a 30-06? How many deer have you shot with a 30-06? 100? 50? How many?
I would say
10?
I'm very close to 100. I'm very close
Okay,
to
okay,
100. And you know what I'll
100.
do?
So,
Here's what
so
I'm going
your
to do for the
number,
space. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do for the space. I'm going to kill one in 2.5 weeks because that's when deer hunting season opens here. And then I'm going to show you exactly what that
Can
wound
you
looks
just
like.
let him
And it's going
finish
to be
what
a
he was
burn
asked?
mark.
Can you let him
Can you
finish his
not
question?
interrupt the colonel? Thank you.
So, guys, if you want to be, data and scientifically oriented towards this problem in question, and I'm agreeing with you. I think the probabilities are very low, and this may not have been a 30-06. I don't know. I don't have medical documentation. I'm just trying to give you an impartial assessment as a traumatologist and an ER doc, for 20 years. But what I would tell you is that shooting 100 deer, that's like a very low number. You got to shoot, and yes, the higher number you get, the more you approach zero as a probability. But you cannot say, just because I've never seen it in the 100 deer that I've shot, you can say it's very rare.
What about a
Uh,
thousand deer? What about 10,000 deer? What about
So
a
you're
hundred
saying
thousand deer?
well,
kryptonite,
right.
Doc?
That's why I asked you.
What's that?
Kryptonite, Superman bones, like that's possible too.
No, that's not possible. That's obviously bullshit. And I also don't think that it was a miracle. Uh, I don't know. But what I'm telling you is that there's a non-zero probability. And it's the same thing. I've talked about this with people with the World Trade Centers and with the Epstein thing. You have to break it down to probabilities because we don't know the truth, and we have to examine the evidence and the data, and we have to stay open-minded to non-zero probabilities. And you could say there is no universe or no world in which a 30-06 doesn't go through somebody completely. But what I'm telling you is out of thousands of gunshot wounds I have seen, there is
Zero
some
30-06
crazy shit
gunshot wounds.
to the neck. You're right. I've never seen that in 20 years. And thank God, because it's and it's a non-survivable injury. But I've seen 30-06 to flesh, and I've seen 30-06 to to other, and I've seen hunting injuries, and I've seen different bullets do different things.
I can't imagine it's a common gunshot wound for humans. You know what I mean?
It's not. It's not at all. If anything, we study and learn about that from the military stuff. And when we study trauma, I mean, we have to rely heavily on all sorts of trauma surgeon case reports from different caliber bullets, and that's what we read up on cases because we don't see it that often, but we need to be prepared for it. Although you don't really need to be prepared for a 30-06 to the neck because it's not survivable.
Yeah, that's why people are giving you
real quick because they've been up here forever and had their hand up. Go ahead, Dilly, finish what you were saying, and then we're going to go to Fuzzy and then Mark.
Well, I was going to say, people are giving a hard time for not having a lot of experience with a 30-06 to human flesh, but it's not a common civilian wound, okay? Like, the most common civilian wounds are pistols and shotguns, period.
100%.
Listen, anybody any random person can Google that and understand that. So, like, I don't know, man. The attack on somebody being objective is fucking weird, right? That's just saying.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think that, they're going to try to attack the arguments. And that's, the whole point about it, to keep the caliber of the space up and to make sure that, it doesn't, like, circle the drain. Just going from just attacking the arguments and keep it very academic and intellectual is kind of the goal. So that's where we're at. But Fuzzy, thank you so much for being patient. I'm going to go to you, and then we're going to go to Markham. Naga, I don't know, your hand's down, but I'll circle to you after Markham. Go ahead, Fuzzy.
Thank you guys for having this space tonight. This is a pretty hardcore topic to cover. And Doctor, I do appreciate your time and sharing your expertise in the medical field. Now, what I will say is I've been shooting pretty much my whole life. I'm 46. And here, I'm just going to acknowledge one other thing, if you don't mind. I know that there are crazy things that can happen, but when we're talking about a 0.000001 kind of number, it's almost impossible. And let me just explain, if you don't mind. I've been shooting for 30 years. I've been butchering deers myself as well for those 30 years with my father. In that, I've only shot, maybe in my best season, 6 deer. You know what I mean? With a 30-06. And that's my entire life, giving me about 180 deer. So if someone's close to 100 deers of shooting, that's approximately 20 to 25 years worth of shooting. And that's a lot of time to really be honest. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of touch on 2 things. I've been shooting this gun for a very long time. And when you shoot into soft tissue in a deer, and I'm just using a deer, I've never, gone the other way, it goes right through. There's almost no resistance. You can see where it goes in, and then right through the other side of the neck, you see an exit hole, but it's not going to keep that deer's head intact. And in that, when that bullet goes through, there are times where the vertebrae will shatter without even touching the bone. So here's where I would like to go, if you don't mind. I don't believe it was a 30-06 at all. Removing that from the equation completely, going towards something along the lines of a projectile from his actual microphone. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is people say that there were 3 frames. I don't think that that's the case. I think that when you're getting things from cell phones, you're not going to actually get really great, you're not going to get that perfection. But if you actually get a downloaded version of the video, and I do have an actual copy of it, the time of the snap to the moment after the hole is exposed, just like you said, the pressure is going to go up and then it's going to spurt out. I do know that to be an absolute fact. After the bullet is shot, there is a moment, even on cell phone imagery, you're seeing that it's like there's this moment where that hole exists and then it starts to pour out profusely. Now, the reason why I'm having this big conversation is the probability of it being shot from a rifle at all is very low. Most rifles, unless you're shooting a 22, you're not really going to get much, and you're not going to get that kind of noise. I cannot answer if that was an entry or an exit wound. I actually don't. I only believe it was an entry wound because it was a projectile, something the size of a BB. And if you put enough force behind it, believe it or not, that BB, I mean, it has to be bigger than a BB. I'm not saying something that tiny, but approximately that size, you will actually connect with that like into your spinal cord. And there is that possibility of that happening. So I appreciate your time, but there are a lot of little issues that I am having with this part of the conversation. And Colonel, I just wanted to say to you, thank you for your service and thank you for your time tonight as well. So Noah, please, if you want to jump back in, I'd appreciate it. But I will say that there's no way this was a 30-06, no matter how crazy it could have been. It had to have been some kind of smaller projectile from a much closer distance. If I'm wrong about the microphone, that's possible. But I would say there's possibly someone who might have been awfully close, possibly in the front row, that might have been able to snap something, with, I don't know. There's other things that kind of factor in. So thank you guys for the night. Ryan, I've been a great fan. Thank you. Diligent. Love you, man. Thank you again for having this space tonight, guys. And I'll go ahead and drop down to listener. Great job tonight, everybody. Amaze, what a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Fuzzy.
Since you brought me up, just let me say, the one thing that we all need to just get past and over is that the current narrative is a lie because it wasn't a 30-06. And that is a foundational thing where all other possibilities are now open, and I don't know the rest. I don't know.
That's a great way to sum it up, Colonel.
I don't know, but it was not a 30-06. And anyone who's telling you he was shot in the neck with a 30-06 is actively lying to you. They are actively lying to you.
Or they don't know. But yes, thank you so much. Once I know, I'm going to totally give you an opportunity to respond to this, and then we have another hand as well. I just wanted to let everybody know we're going to be kind of winding it down, and Truth Teller has a space going, and so we're all going to probably migrate over there after we get through the hands. And of course, we're going to be firing this up again. Brian's doing this a few times a week, so we'll probably